Hey, everybody. Welcome to Double Barrel Gaming's very special, of course, Double Barrel Gaming presents. Now, normally I'm not live on Wednesdays. And well, today, folks, I am so excited with the news that was dropped yesterday by Sarah Bond, president of Xbox. I kind of wanted to just come out here for, maybe 45-ish minutes, kind of hang out with you guys and gals and talk about some of the key points. Now, tonight, there's going to be some big talk. We have a lot of big opinions from Kayasante, from Hargeet Chani, and of course, I believe, according to, last time I spoke with him, Everborn Saga is going to be joining us. And again, obviously, he's one of the founding fathers of primetime gaming. And you know what? It'd be great to get him back because he had some pretty interesting and thought-provoking points regarding why the Asus handhelds are in fact Xbox, some of which seem common sense, but there are a lot of people that are not talking about it. But we'll get into that further this evening. What we're going to do here for the next 45-ish minutes is kind of break down exactly what happened yesterday, because look, folks, it does seem that Xbox is not only hitting on all cylinders. Leadership is doing what they're supposed to do, and they're getting out in front of certain narratives that have been put together by people in the media, people in this community, a lot of false narratives. Xbox has been doing probably some of their best work ever in the last couple of years. Yeah, sure. Have they, slowed down on selling consoles? If you're going to have one criticism, or there's actually quite a few, if you're going to have a couple of criticisms for what Xbox has not done well, messaging hasn't been their strong suit and hasn't been for a long time. And that seems to be getting, course corrected. Well, the other thing is, hardware, you just didn't know where they were going to go. Each and every quarter for the last, 4 or 5 quarters, they've, lessened how much they've made on their hardware. We know that a lot of people are, going the PC route. We know a lot of people are, upgrading to handhelds, like the Lenovo's, like the Legion Go's, like the Asus, ROG Ally X, the Steam Deck, right? Those are all making big, moves and dividends in the handheld market. But there is a lot to get excited about if you are an Xbox player for a lot of reasons. And, besides the first party's roadmap being just bombastic in a way where it almost seems unfair, right? Like, honestly, if you look at what they've done the last couple of years, and like I said, we've all asked for this to happen, right? We all asked and wanted to see how Xbox would move if they had a couple of consecutive years of wins. And the wins started in 2023. Like, I know that someone in this chat is going to go right back to, the vampire game and say, oh, you know what? That game was a failure and no one played it. And I totally get that. But Motorsport, did well enough. Starfield, man, I just think that Starfield really doesn't get the credit that it deserves. And this is all going back a couple of years. So again, depending on your personal opinion on what 2023 was for Xbox, you might think it was a great year like me, or you might think it was a mediocre year. And if that's the case, I'm not going to fight with you. And then you go into 2024 and it just seems to get a little bit better. Right? We had an incredible amount of first-party releases. You had a bunch of killer showcases. And quite frankly, last year's showcase was so good that it's God tier. I've called it a 12 out of 10. I think most people will agree that there was absolutely nothing more they could have showed to make that show any better. Honestly, it just was a banger of a show. And then, of course, the releases. Now, the releases as first party goes, I thought were pretty good. I think that they delivered, but it's not just the part. And I kind of, and again, I might be a little all over the place because I'm solo and I don't have a script, folks. This is, let's shoot from the hip, let's hang out with the community, let's talk about Xbox. But when people try and categorize Xbox, and they're trying to sell you a false narrative of negativity, which has become commonplace in this community. It's almost disappointing, frustrating, and people really do expose themselves to just being trolls of the community, and not even game players for that matter. And they always, and I say they because we don't mention the names here, folks. It's not something that we do. We don't need that kind of smoke, and it's not the kind of brand that we try to build here at Double Barrel Gaming. So when I say they, I am talking about the trolls of the community that try to specifically pick out a part and focus in on that one part that Xbox did do or didn't do well, right? And we've seen this more times than not. And if you just look at what they've done in the last couple of years, and we're kind of focusing on 2024, people will say, well, console sales are all that matters. And that's a lie. And it's not something that Xbox does well, folks. It's just not. Now, why is that? Is it because they've gone multi-plat? Is it because you can get games on PC day and date on your handheld, your PC handheld? You can buy a game and play it on that, and you don't have to buy an Xbox. Maybe that's ultimately the core of the issue of selling hardware. But needless to say, them giving you an opportunity to play anywhere, pun intended, is what the ultimate goal is, right? They really want you to be able to say, you know what? It doesn't matter where I play. I'm an Xbox gamer. Now, maybe you don't think of yourself as one, but certainly if you're buying and playing an Xbox game on your ROG Ally, on your handheld of your flavor, or your PlayStation, right? Or Nintendo eventually, or the PC, you're an MAU. And really, I know that a lot of people tried to clown on Xbox using the, we want this many MAUs, monthly active users, by this, we want 500 million, whatever it was. And, it's funny because Sony kind of said the same thing just a couple of months ago, where they are now going to stop focusing on console sales and they're going to focus on MAUs. And it does appear that all of the games that were made fun of, by Xbox, like the Sea of Thieves and the Fallout 76s and the ESOs, right? All of these gas games, they're making money. Grounded 2, Grounded 1 did so well, it birthed a sequel. And it's a third game of this year that's coming out by Obsidian. Like, just ridiculous kind of work. And we're now, again, if you might be just tuning in, where am I going with all of this information? Well, eventually we're going to get to what Sarabon had to say yesterday, but I kind of want to just wait for some people to get in on here and work my way up into that conversation, because we're going to watch the video in a little bit. I'm going to do a screen share because it's 1 minute and 18 seconds. I don't think I'm going to get banged by pause by Xbox for it. It does have some music in the background, but it's not a lot, and it's not for a long time. So I don't think they're gonna clip me and do like a. I'm not gonna get a strike or anything. I'd get a content where I could make money on the video, which is fine. We're not gonna make a lot of money on this video anyway. But we're here to talk about what happened. So we're getting there, folks. And 2024 had, like I said, it had its killer shows, kill a bunch of releases. And one of the things, and again, when I was talking about some of its parts and the way the troll community works, is they never give you the big picture, right? They never give you the entire page. They do is they rip off the corner and they hand it to you and say, this is the narrative. It's just this corner, when it's not the whole picture. And that's a real big problem, because it's not the whole story. It's a part of the story. And what Xbox seems to be doing right is pretty much everything. And again, I'm not saying that they're infallible, that they haven't made mistakes or they will make mistakes. Of course they will. But what we have to talk about is the fact that they have a roadmap, which of course is content. Content is super important for your console sales. Now, again, when I say console sales, it has been light. And if there is one thing that you can look at a negative point of view, well, that's it, folks. It's the console sales. Now, again, there's a lot of reasons why the console is not selling, and it probably has a lot to do with the messaging that I made mention of. That is one of their biggest Achilles heels. And it just is what it is. When you give choice to your consumer and you say you don't actually need this device or these devices to play these games, people are less inclined to buy those devices because they can play on either devices they already own or devices that might ultimately be cheaper. Now, when I say cheaper, I don't know what the number is on how many people are playing on their Samsung TVs. If I had to take a blind stab at it, I would say that it's not a lot. How many people are playing on cloud? Well, we know cloud is gotten some gains for them. So cloud is definitely something that they are working towards. They're going to continue working with, and they're going to continue to make better. Cloud is a big part of their future plans. So again, it's one of those things where what is Xbox doing? How are they moving? Well, they seem to be moving in probably the best in the industry. Now, I understand that some people will push back and say Nintendo. Listen, folks, I bought 3 Nintendo Switch 2s, 3 of them. One for me, one for Tyler, one for Daniel. Right? The kids, including myself, which I consider myself a kid, everyone got a console, and everyone's enjoying it. Bought a couple of games, bought a couple of digital games. Quite frankly, I'm very much enjoying it. But look, I want to kind of just continue this conversation and move to why we're actually still here. Because again, folks, I think, and most people will agree, that Xbox had to have a couple of years of succession, right? In order to follow what Sony did so well before they kind of became un-Sony like. And you've heard me say this before, folks, but I have to say it because it's context. 2018, 2019, 2020 for Sony were really good years. They were good years for console sales. They were good years for third-party marketed deals and console exclusives that were not on PC. And they were really good years for first party. And all of that has gone away. Like, Sony is definitely not the same. And we're not going to get into too much of what Sony's done wrong, because that's not what we're here to do. But it is a part of the conversation. Sony is just not the same. Xbox is moving the way Sony used to move, and Sony is moving the way Xbox used to. It's almost like they kind of just traded places, so to speak. And 23, great, I thought was a pretty good year for Xbox. 24, an even better year. And 2025 seems to be just a year of incredible success. Now, I didn't give the showcase a 10 out of 10 or even a 12 out of 10 for that matter. I thought it was a very solid 9 out of 10. There were a lot of games that I wanted to play, a lot of surprises. They were a little light in first party for me. I thought we were going to get some updates, but we didn't, and that's fine. Obviously, we had Phil Spencer explain why we didn't get an update on Forza, Halo, and Gears, because that's coming next year, and that's fine. At least we have an idea of why they didn't show it. But even like State of Decay 3, I kind of wanted an update, and we didn't get it. Just a few things. So again, for me, they were a little light in first party, but man, I think they showed out, so to speak. And listen, we talked about this on Monday. It was me, Crispy, and Fuzzy. If you missed it, please go check out the video. And of course, I did a video where I cut down the podcast, made it into video format, as well as the actual podcast, where we talked about Xbox having 12 first-party games this year. And man, that's an incredible output. Now, like we said on Monday and even Tuesday, not every one of those games is going to be a game that you're going to play, right? You're not going to play that game or all 12 of those games, but somebody will. And I'm going to be honest with you, every one of those games, I like, for me, Grounded 2, not so much my thing. Um, Towerborn, I played. It's phenomenal, but I'd rather wait for the full release. So I'm not going to play every game. Will I try it? Will I try Grounded 2? Sure, I'll give it the old college effort. Like I tried Towerborn. Towerborn is phenomenal, except it's in preview, and I'm not a big preview game kind of a guy. I'd rather wait for the full experience personally. But 12 games, 12 first party games in 1 year is, I mean, have you ever seen Sony do that? The answer is I don't really think so. Now Nintendo, maybe they got close. I'm not exactly sure. They might have had, 8, 9, 10 releases because they do release a lot of stuff. And not everything is AAA. You'll get the Mario Tennis, you'll get the Mario Strikers, you'll get stuff like that. And of course, you'll get the main draw. But for the most part, I don't think anyone has put out 12 games in 1 year. And that is basically how, Xbox is moving right now, right? Like they are moving in a way that it's just crazy. So of course, yesterday we had the video from the president of Xbox, and of course that is Sarah Bond. And you know what? Before I bring that video in, I do want to pull a specific article that I pulled from our very good friends over at xboxera.com. I like using their stuff. I mean, again, they don't really need my help to grow because I think they are probably almost 10,000 subs more than me. And of course, they work hard over there, folks. Will we get to 25K eventually? I'd like to believe so. I mean, we're doing it the old fashioned mom and pop way. It's a little slow, but we'll get there eventually. But I not only know John personally, but I also know Jesse Norris, and I love that guy. I think that he is a phenomenal reviewer. I think he is a massive part of Xbox Era. And he is a really good journalist. And he wrote an article, which I have in front of me. And this was posted 21 hours ago. It's titled, Xbox confirms AMD will power the next generation of Xbox consoles. Now, why this particular title should be interesting to you is the last word, and that is consoles. And it should be an asterisk because at the 24-second mark of this 1 minute and 18 seconds, Sarah Bond specifically mentions next generation hardware devices with an S. And then she goes into, explaining how AMD is going to power, their home consoles and their consoles on the go, meaning handheld. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we had stories from all the bigs that the Xbox handheld was essentially canceled. And we spoke about that specifically on Friday's Breakfast at Boom. Again, that is still up. That was a story that broke on Thursday. We talked about it on Friday. And like many things before, we got some additional clarification from the president of Xbox that really kind of puts the kibosh on some of the reporting of their handheld being canceled, because she literally said in the video, which we're going to watch in a little bit, that they are partnering. It didn't say how many years. It's a multi-year deal with AMD, and they're going to be making a home console, next generation consoles with an S. And I don't think you're going to get an Xbox Series X and S situation. What you're going to get is an Xbox whatever, and you're going to get a handheld. The handheld that it was reported was canceled. Now, listen, before we start picking up the torches and pitchforks for the journalists that did report this, I kind of want to just throw this out there for everyone. Almost 10 out of 10 times when Jez Corden, specifically Jez, reports on something, I will bet money that he is right. Jez is very connected. I like the way he writes. I appreciate what he does for the community. I, of course, like him as being a partner to Randall Thor on the Xbox 2 podcast. And of course, there were some other reports from Tom Warren, Tom Henderson, VGC, VTG. There's a bunch of them. And again, I don't know Tom personally, either of the Toms for that matter, but I like their work. And almost when they report something, you know what, I'm more willing to believe them because of course, they are connected. So again, this article that we're gonna pull from, which of course I'm going to add to the show notes once this video goes on demand, has a couple of really key points that I want to focus on. That I really want to, get get your thoughts. And again, folks, I am solo, so apologies. I cannot welcome in you, individually like I normally do. But this is what happens when you run solo dolo, right? So again, I just want to pull up, this article, and I want to read a verbatim from it. Now, Jesse Norris, who wrote this article, goes on to say, here are some key points from the Sarah Bond made during the 1 minute and 18-second long video. And these are the very key bullet points that I want to focus on with this conversation that we're having. He goes on to say, reiterated vision of playing games with your friends anywhere you want, right? That's how she opened it up with. Next-gen hardware includes console, handhelds, PC, cloud, and accessories. It's not a surprise. Strategic multi-year partnership with AMD to make silicon across a wide variety of devices. Again, devices with an S. Sarah said next generation Xbox consoles, and he has in parentheses 2 again. And where I will say that no, it's not 2 again. It is a home console and it is a handheld. Why? Because at the 24-second mark, she literally said so. He goes on to say, and use some additional bullet points. Pushing new tech while maintaining backwards compatibility. Again, you got to remember, this was a big story. There were a lot of people that were like, hey, backwards compatibility is going to be gone. Oh, no. Well, there it is, folks. Once again, shot down. And it goes on to say, we'll continue working closely with the Windows team. And it goes, finally, it says, grounded in a platform designed for players not tied to a single store or device and fully compatible with your existing Xbox library. Look, folks, I don't know what more Sarah Bond has to say in order to get it through your head. And again, there is going to be somebody in this community, and I don't know who it's going to be, probably your favorite or unfavorite troll of the community that just makes you sick to your stomach because all they do is lie. And that's what usually I put my hashtag in, hashtag all they do is lie. Unfortunately, that is a running narrative for many of the PlayStation community. Not the PlayStation players, the most outspoken haters of Xbox. No matter what Xbox does, they're going to try to use hate narratives for a couple of things. One of which is to get your sub because hate sells. And the other thing is to try and separate you from your money because they think that if they're toxic and barbaric in the way that they do their reporting, that you'll be so excited that they're spewing negative horse shit that you will give them money. Don't do that. That's like, again, don't feed the trolls, folks. Just don't do it. But let me just get over to the chat here. And so Nathaniel Squire drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, will the next Xbox release in 2026 or 2027? All right, folks. Hey, Paris Lily, what's going on, brother? I mean, listen, Paris, I don't know if you're busy. First of all, welcome as always. If you want to jump in to kind of give your 2 cents on this, you'll do me a big solid. One, I'm starting to run out of steam because I don't have the skills of a Dirt Griggity or a Mav. Those guys, or even like Sean. Sean is amazing. Those 3 gentlemen are phenomenal. So I will send you a link live on the air. And if you want to jump in for like 5 or 10 minutes, give your thoughts on it, it kind of will give me a chance to take a swig of water and get your hot take on it because I know that but I would like to hear what you have to say. So let me just do that, folks. Just bear with me a second, folks. I'm going to get off this screen, get into my Twitter account, and see if we could bring Paris Lilly in here if he wants to join for a few minutes. If he has the time, obviously he's very busy with the work that he does, but I would love to get his hot take on this. So I just got to you, and I'm going to send it over. Again, Paris, if you can join us for a few minutes, that would be super cool. Let me see. There it is. I sent it, so just check it out. The link is there, Paris, and you want to join, by all means, pop in here. But yeah, you know what? So let me respond while we wait for Paris to see if he can join us for a few minutes to Nathaniel's question. There he is. Oh my God. Paris Lilly, my brother from another. Thank you so much for joining, bro. How's everything?
No, it's good. It's good, man. I got a little bit of time this morning because meetings got canceled, stuff like that. And I saw you were talking about this, but it was funny because I had said a while ago, I was like, yeah, invite me up. And then the chat was like, he's not seeing it because you were on a roll there.
But you know what it is also, a lot of the times I'm on, because I have a couple of screens open and I go from back and forth, and sometimes I don't read the chat. Again, well, first of all, Paris, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We super appreciate it. Once again, unbelievable work. A couple of Sundays ago, obviously you, Rihanna, Dan, Danny Benya, everyone was there. We all had a great time. And, since the showcase, Xbox has been in the conversation of gaming, and they continue to be there for a lot of reasons. First, for me anyway, I think that their first party output this year alone with 12 titles this year, and that's without any surprises that could show up at the end of the year. And I know that we had a private talk. Now, sometimes I'll say something and it is completely off the pier. I still, in my heart of hearts, believe that what we saw with Clockwork Revolution, it looks so well polished. And again, this is me completely spitballing. And this would be out of turn of Xbox, right? What usually happens is their directs are in the beginning of the year, right? We have a bunch of releases, then they have their showcase, and then they show up at a couple of other places like the Game Awards. And that's usually how it goes. I threw it out to the universe. The universe has not answered back as of yet, folks, that I think that out of turn, Clockwork Revolution could show up this fall. And how would they do that? Well, they could have a direct specifically for this.
That's not going to happen.
No, I know. Listen, brother, I know it's not going to happen, but I have to put it out to the universe. And I would love for them to, buck the narrative. But look, that's just my hopes and dreams, because I really love Exile. I love their social media team. They are so much fun.
Yeah.
The game just looks so good. I mean, it's everything I could want in a game from them. And it's, if you look at what they've done in the past, it is so drastically different than what we're used to in Exile, which is why I'm so excited. But you know what? While we have you here, Paris, yesterday we saw a video, 1 minute, 18 seconds from Sarah Bond, and she said a lot of things. And I got to tell you, man, I've watched that video, I want to say probably around 10 times. Now I do, and not because we don't, I don't like seeing Sarah. I got a chance to meet her in person, which is awesome. But if you just take some notes, let the video finish and go back to those notes, she said some really interesting and specific things. And like I said, for me, what jumps off the page almost immediately is at the 24-second mark, where she specifically says devices, next generation devices. So of course, there are some folks like, oh no, here we go again, X and S situation. I don't think that's what she meant. And when she said devices, right from that line, she then goes on to talking about home consoles and gaming on the go. So that I mean, again, I could be wrong, and I've been wrong many times before. It did sound like she was implying that there was going to be a next generation home console, which we all knew. But what's interesting here, Paris, is the fact that just last week, there were reports that internally, the Xbox handheld, the branded handheld, was canceled. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. What were your thoughts on this video from the president of Xbox?
So I actually put out a video reacting to it. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I got to check that out.
Yeah, it's just on my personal YouTube channel, but probably like 9-10 minutes, something like that. But here's my perspective on the whole thing. Going from last weekend, getting hands on, with the Ally X, talking to the Windows team that's making all the changes on Windows, and then obviously culminating here with what Sarah Bond said. So as far as will Microsoft Xbox still make their own handheld? Maybe. I mean, I don't think they need to. And here's why.
Okay, that's a fair point.
They're going to make their own console. I mean, she made that very clear. We're getting a next generation console from Xbox. But like I talked about in video and I've tweeted about as well, and she said it in the video, it's going to be Windows. It's going to sit on top of Windows. The Windows operating system will be powering, and we obviously know Windows has powered the previous Xbox, but it's been essentially a forked version of Windows. Whereas this one, I do believe, is going to be a consumer caliber version of the Windows operating system on the next gen console. And the reason I say that is because Windows is what is going to be powering these other devices. And that's why she said Windows is going to be the number one platform. Gaming platform. That's what they're striving for. This is why Phil Spencer, when he was talking with Jeff Rubenstein last week, even said that in his 30 years at Microsoft, this is the closest collaboration that Xbox has ever had with the Windows team, right? Me getting a chance to talk to Jason Ronald and talk to a few of the engineers on the Windows team after I got hands on with the Ally X. And this was not directly stated to me. This is me putting all the puzzle pieces together. So I want to be clear on that. Windows, there's going to be some form of backwards compatibility on the Windows operating system. And when I say that, of course, the next gen Xbox is going to do that. Sarah Bond straight up told you that. But I also believe, and it may not be next year, I don't have a timetable, but I think we will get to a point where, yes, Windows is going to be, you're going to have the Xbox console, you're going to have these partner handhelds, probably other partner devices as well. But we're going to get to a day where if you want to build your own PC, you can install Windows on it, essentially tell it, I want to enable quote unquote game mode to it. It'll boot right into the Xbox experience just like it would on one of these handhelds. And if you need to go to the desktop because you want to do some productivity things or install other things, you can flip over to that. But if you want to treat it as an Xbox, and I said this a few weeks ago when I was up at Microsoft, when I was talking to the corporate vice president that handles Windows, I said to him, I go, so Windows is Xbox and Xbox is Windows. And this was before they revealed everything. So we didn't really say a lot elaborating on that. But now that I've got to talk to other engineers, got hands on, and we've seen what Sarah has said, I truly believe that. That's where they're taking this. The Windows operating system will essentially be Xbox will be a part of Windows, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, you're going to get this partnership with AMD. You're still going to get a console that's obviously going to be able to have Steam on it, the Epic Store, all those third-party digital stores, but you're still going to get all the benefits of what Xbox brings from their store, from Game Pass, from Play Anywhere, all these things. But now, just like they said, it's up to you where you want to get your games from. I mean, they obviously make more money if you get it directly from them, but if you want to stick to Steam, you can go buy their games on Steam. If you want Game Pass, you can go get Game Pass. But the whole point is, their Steam OS, if the best thing that Valve did with Steam OS is it showed that just a standard operating system can be a true gaming platform, because that's what Steam OS is, right? If you want to flip to the desktop and use Steam OS just like a regular Linux desktop, you can do that. And that's essentially what Windows has to do now. It's the same exact thing. And the fact that you can turn the desktop off, you can save resources, allocate more memory to gaming performance. We're seeing that right now with the Ally X. So my thought on it is, in 2025, we're going to get this handheld. It's like a pre-alpha to what's coming. because by the time we get to 2026, and I talked to a couple of people about that, they will eventually put this on other devices. So this will be on like the Lenovo Go, the MSI Claw, all that. But like I said, I think you will get to the point now where Valve just did with Steam OS. I can just install it on anything if I want. That's where it's going to go. And it will have all the benefits of what an Xbox console can do. Because like I said before, I do think there will be backwards compatibility emulation on the Windows operating system. And at that point, everything that people are fussing about right now, is the Rogue Ally Xbox, is it not, won't matter anymore, because now it will be able to play, essentially emulate your 360 and Xbox One games, right? So I'm personally excited for where all this is going, because I like companies that innovate. And I was talking about this yesterday because, and I know you get grief online just like I do. I get a lot of grief online.
They come for us. So I don't know why.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because you're brave enough to give your opinion and stand on it until you're proven wrong. You're not always going to be right. I'm not always right.
Of course not. Yeah.
Because, there's the dumb tweet going around right now where someone dug back through 15 years of my tweets where I talk about the future a lot. Right. But I'm proud of that. You want to know why? Because when I see something new, some new tech, a new service that I think is going to push the industry forward, I get excited about that. So, of course, I'm going to say the future, because when we were at the watch party, what started all this was I said the Rogue Ally, the Xbox Ally, is going to lead the way for the future of handhelds. And I mean it. For everything that I just said, Windows is the dominant operating system. Think about it. Billions of people use Windows every day. So if they can make Windows by default a gaming platform, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Indeed, you do. Yeah.
Right. And like I said, and again, I'm not saying this to name drop. I just want to let you know I said it directly to him. I got to talk to Phil Spencer Sunday night, and I said it to him that Sunday night. I understand what this is an Xbox is now. I get it. And that's why I even put out another video yesterday after the Sarah Bond video from our conversation with Phil in January. Because now if you go back and listen to what he was saying in January about multiple platforms, why you would still want to buy an Xbox, it all makes more sense now. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, absolutely does.
Look, you're going to have the trolls online. You're going to have the people that, PlayStation's the bet. Look, I love PlayStation. I really could care less. Play wherever the hell you want. I don't care. But I like new things. I like innovation. I like when you're pushing technology forward, when you're doing something different. Look, would you want gaming to stay the same way it was in 1996 and 2025? No, I want it to change. I want it to keep evolving. And for better or worse, Xbox is trying to evolve the way that we interact with our games by basically saying, go play where you want. We'll make sure that the hardware can support it. We'll make sure that the software and the services are there to support it. Go play where you want. And that was the thing he even said back in January. He's like, I understand some platforms are closed systems that we won't be able to bring all our services to, AKA PlayStation and Nintendo. Right. But if you like playing on PlayStation, knock yourself out. What's the number one pre-order game right now?
That'd be Gears of War Reloaded, sir.
And this is my point. So clearly, why look, we're fans. When all this multi-platform stuff started, I didn't believe it. And that, I really did not believe it at all. So I was surprised just as everyone else that they took this approach. But at the end of the day, they're business.
Yep.
Damn what we think. If they're still giving us everything we want as a consumer, but now they're also giving it to other consumers as well, and they're making more money. That's the whole point. If you notice something Phil Spencer says every time he talks now, we're a part of Microsoft. We have to be a profitable business. He says it every time.
He really does. Yeah.
So it's
not wrong, by the way.
No. But my point is there's the business side of this and there's the fandom side of this. And I think, a lot of us are always going to look at this from the fandom side. I totally get that. And this is not me defending things. I think Halo and Gears. Look, when I play Gears on PlayStation, I thought that was freaking. I was like, this is weird, right?
Weird. So it's got to be weird. Even using the controller to play Gears, got to be weird.
Things change. Things change, and you just have to look at it that way. Not everything's going to stay the same, because I know what I thought was happening in 2020, and it's exactly what they said was happening. And then they made a business pivot after they acquired Activision, and things changed. I think it truly accelerated whatever future plans that they had. But when you look at this future plan of what they have, if they pull it off, look, they still have to pull this off. I'm not crowning them the kings yet, because there's obviously a lot of different variables that are still involved to get this work. Like with Xbox Play Anywhere, the only thing that you can count on with Xbox Play Anywhere is first party. Third party is going to be per publisher, what they want to participate in and what they don't want to participate in. And then when it comes to that, are you still going to ensure, like when I think backwards compatibility, is that just because if anything that was previously playable on old consoles, will that come forward, or will there be licensing issues with that? Will third parties have something to say in that? So it's not 100% until it is, until we actually see it in action. So that's why I think they've been very careful with their wording about a lot of this stuff, because I do think there's variables in there. Now, we've seen third parties with the showcase starting to support Play Anywhere, but it's not going to be 100%. And I think people need to be prepared for that. If you're investing in the Xbox ecosystem, you're investing in it because of the Xbox first party games, Game Pass, and their services. You cannot expect every third party game to be a part of it, because that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Again, it's one of those things that, first of all, if you just look at the big three, right? And, you mentioned Phil's, talking about closed platform, closed borders. Nintendo is always going to Nintendo. And I know people hate when I say that, but that's the truth. Like they really don't need anybody else, because they've always walked to their own drums, and that's fine. PlayStation, they're going to have to pivot for a lot of reasons. And a lot of those reasons we're not going to get into specifically, because, again, if you talk about PlayStation, even though they've clearly made some mistakes and they've stepped in a few piles, you're considered a console warrior. It's just, I mean, look, Sony has to figure out how to become Sony again. How long does that take, Paris? I have no idea. But until they get back to, releasing bangers like most of their fans want, those AAA bombs are coming the way of Xbox. Their stumbling has opened the gate for something like Gears of War Reloaded, a game that is decades old, it got remade from the ground up, and is number one on their store. And it's not this year specifically. It's not the only game to hit number one. Almost every Xbox game that has released on their platform this year. I'm not talking about what happened with Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush, it happened. It is what it is. I'm talking about this year. Indiana Jones, both versions, was number one, number three. Forza Horizon 5, all three versions were in their top 10 most paid for. This is going to be a running narrative. And it's going to be, and why is that happening? And I've said this, and I think you will agree. When we say PlayStation players and PlayStation troll masters, they're two different types of people. Gamers, the PlayStation gamers, just play on PlayStation, and they're PlayStation gamers. And you know what? That's okay. These are kids that are now grown up. They're teenagers. They're in their 20s. They're in their 30s. That's what they know. They love PlayStation, and now they have an opportunity to play on Xbox. Do you think they give a shit about these console warriors saying that Xbox can't sell consoles? They don't care. They absolutely don't care, because they're just PlayStation players. It's a much different person than the trolls that, of course, stay nameless on this channel, because, again, we don't want the smoke, and we don't have to give them any credit where credit is not due. So I don't know. I mean, I just think, Paris, that what we heard yesterday in 1 minute and 18 seconds, I think just really closed down lots of false narratives that have been spewed in the last couple of weeks regarding I mean, again, is Xbox perfect? No. They will make mistakes. They have made mistakes, and they will make new mistakes in the
100%.
future, right? Mm-hmm. And again, they just, The one thing
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, I can tell you the mistake they're making right now.
Is it messaging?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
Again,
For what I say in the opening, messaging, the Achilles heel of Xbox.
And it comes to this Ally X. I've said it on Kind of Funny the other day, and I've said it a couple other times. They need to, and they still have time over the summer, obviously.
Yes.
But my point is, if you just watch that Sarah Bond trailer for the Xbox Ally during the showcase, it implies you can play all your Xbox games on it.
It does. It absolutely
does. They need to be more crystal clear about what is playable and what is not playable, in 2025 on that device. I think they need to do that. I get the social media, that's console war, grown adults being children nonsense about is it a console or not. But just for the average consumer, again, I just think my wife were to go walk into Best Buy thinking she's buying it for my son. Oh, this plays all the Xbox games. And then he complains, well, I can't play this, I can't play that. That's the consumer I'm thinking about when I say that I think they need to be a little more clear on that. As it is today, it is essentially a PC handheld. No, it's not a console. It can play a lot of Xbox games, but it can't play all of them. And that's what they need to be more clear. Not to mention something I found out yesterday. So Halo, the Master Chief Collection, is technically not a Play Anywhere title. But it's on the Xbox app on PC, so you can play it on the Ally. You see what I'm saying? So There's instances like that as well, where there might be games that aren't considered Play Anywhere, but they're still PC enabled and you can play them on that device. And obviously, not to mention if you were to play it on Steam or whatever, but I'm talking specifically on the Xbox app where it's available. So like I said, I'm not saying they need to do another business update to explain all of this. Maybe it's just an Xbox Wire post, quick YouTube video or something like that. But I do think they should kind of just lay out what is accessible on this handheld, when it comes out later this year, just so people know, and leave it at that. And then at that point, you put the information out there, and then, it's up to the consumers themselves to make sure that they educate themselves on it. But that trailer makes you think you can play all Xbox games. So like you said at the top of the show, Xbox still needs to do a little bit better job with their messaging, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. I think we have presented evidence where it's clear that the messaging. Like I said, for me personally, I understand, but I'm also really invested in it. So I understood what she meant. I understood how it was presented. But then again, this is what I talked about in the opening. I don't know if you heard the troll community, which of course I say, please don't block, mute, and unengage with these people, because all they're trying to do is just be hateful people. Like, as much as gaming has been great this year and it continues to get better, in my opinion, every day. I mean, like I'm playing a Vampire Survivors like game, something Toll. I can't think of it.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. It is. Let me tell you something. Liquid or digital crack cocaine, because not only is it a Xbox Play Anywhere title, which I've been doing, but it's so good, it's got me so addicted that I bought it on the Switch too. So I'm literally, when Mrs. Boom and I are watching the K-dramas, I have it on the stand, and I'm just with the controller, sounds off. I'm gaining levels there, and when she goes in to go do her own thing, I go back on the Xbox, and it's not cross-play, cross-save, which is fine, because I'm almost in the same spot on both consoles. But again, it's $5.39, and it's just one of those games that it just makes me happy to play. And I know I know you've talked about it. You said Play Alters is going to change your life. I talked to Kay Asante. He says, you know what? I feel really bad for the Alters, because a game like Expedition 33 exists, and if it didn't, this would be Game of the Year. And I'm like, oh my God, now I got to go play it. But it's just, it's... Folks, there is so much to get excited about. And again, just kind of, circling the wagon, so to speak, back to why we were here. And that's to talk about the Sarah Bond 1 minute, 18-second video. I really do think that, she does have a very commanding presence. And I think the way that she, what information she um, displayed yesterday during that video really does sew up any, at least for me, it should lessen any concerns about hardware and what they're doing in the future. Backwards compatibility, I know there was a big hubbub over the weekend. Oh my god, they're going to do it. It's not going to be native. It's only going to be, listen, there's things that I know, like you, Paris, that we can't talk about, right? And conversations that you had, I probably had with the same people, and I'm not at liberty to talk about that stuff. I'm gonna let them do their thing, and when it's available, they'll put it out there, and then I'll talk about it. But I know there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background, and I can tell you, folks, just watch the video. Just take the time to listen to the words coming out of Sarah Bond's mouth, and you will understand that they're in it to win it when it regards to their first party. They want you to play with others. They want you to play anywhere you feel comfortable playing. Doesn't matter whether it's on an Xbox or not. They are doing next generation console devices. They have a multi-year deal in with AMD. I think she really did close all of the narrative doors about Xbox getting out of the console business, Xbox canceling the handheld. I don't know, man. I don't know what I honestly, Paris, don't know what more she could say, to be honest.
Because we're at a point where it doesn't matter what they say.
It's true. It is true.
For some. I mean, that was about as crystal clear as you could get at this stage. But I mean, you obviously, again, let's be clear on something again. I think I say this every time I come here. Social media is not real life.
It's fake. It is.
It is people,
the Matrix.
It is people pretending to be a character online.
Yes.
And I say that because when I meet some of these very same people in real life, they're the exact opposite of how they behave online. Yeah. Every time. Every freaking time. So look, to the normal audience, she was as crystal clear as she needed to be. To the pretend people on social media, it doesn't matter because they need the attention and the engagement that comes with that nonsense. But one other thing I did want to bring up to talk about. So, and it was funny because I just tweeted the date and it was just funny to see all the comments. I just said November 15th, 2026. Okay. Because that's the 25th anniversary of Xbox.
Correct. That is correct, sir. Yes.
And Halo Combat Evolved. So it's here's what I think. I think at a minimum, whatever this next gen Xbox is, we will see it on that date. Okay. I'm not saying it's going to be available on that date, but I think we at least see it. We will know what it is on that date because either they're going to shock the world and it comes out, on that date, or they're going to announce it to come out a year later in 2027. Yep. That's my thought.
Can I add some context to what you're saying? Because I have a theory. Now, again, folks, am I wrong? Probably. But I want to position something to you. Okay. Now, we know that fiscal 26 starts July 1st, 2025. Right? Now, walk with me on this, Paris. We know that fiscal 26 ends June 30th, 2026. That's why it's like that. I don't know. But for my wife's job, when they have to do the budgeting, that's how it is. That's how it is in real life, with the numbers department. So that's what it is. July 1st, 2026 starts quarter one, fiscal 27. Now, when I say walk with me on this is a stretch, but we did hear that the next Xbox not expected to launch until 2027. And this is where I got to add some. I'm adding some wiggle room with a question. Does what I just put down equate to what you literally just said? Because of course, if we're going just based on the years, then holiday of 27 is when the handheld and the new Xbox is supposedly going to release, if they follow the actual years. But if we're talking fiscal, saying fiscal 27, that actually lines up pretty well with what you said about November 15th, 2026. And why I think that, Paris, isn't because I'm some sort of a mathematician, not by any stretch of the truth. But this is why. Now, I don't think I have it in this particular. I'd have to download it. I'll get to it in a second. We went over yesterday what 2026 is looking like in regards to first party, and it's bananas. It's so much content, Paris. It almost seems unfair. And the three big ones that are going to be there are the Trinity, right? Gears, E-Day, can't confirm. Phil confirmed it. Forza Horizon 6, Phil confirmed it. And they specifically said one game that's been with the platform since inception. We know that's Halo Combat Evolved Remake, whatever they want to call it. That's the Holy Trinity. Now, you said the 15th of November, 2026 is the 25th anniversary. Paris, I don't know how big you could go on your 25th anniversary, but my God, if you have this lineup of first party games that includes the Trinity, that makes Xbox the pillars that hold up the brand, and you release the console the same year, I'm just saying that is really a statement. I mean, anything you want to elaborate on that? Because again, it's a lot of hopes and dreams. It is the Hail Mary, but sometimes they're funny like that. Well, we really meant fiscal and not, the year. I don't know.
Well, my theory on everything that you just said is I think all of 2026 will be a celebration of 25 years of Xbox, right? It just makes sense. So,
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
So you get Fable at a certain point in the year. Gears E-Day is probably 20th anniversary for that. Comes out around that. They'll have obviously some other games that'll come out throughout the year. And then you culminate it with Combat Evolved Remake on the 15th. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good point. There's absolutely, I mean, again, I think you're onto something. I think that you do celebrate the entire year, and you do it in a way where it does start in January. Now, I think, and again, this is just me spitballing, Fable was supposed to come out this year, and they wanted more time with it, which I think is the right way to go, right? And so maybe they have their direct in January, as they're known to do. And
I'm sure they will.
And they have they releases in February or March, right? Obviously Avowed was, it had its direct. We knew that it was releasing in February. It was great. It worked out perfectly. The extra time was great for Avowed. Avowed's still my game of the year. I absolutely adored that game. But look, I'm just going to throw this up on the screen real quick for folks, Paris, and you can see this is their lineup for next year, bro. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is bonkers. Look at that lineup. Now, again, could things slip? Sure. But what I think is confirmed, you got a Call of Duty. That's Modern Warfare 4 from Infinity Ward is happening. Fable, happening. Gears of War E-Day, happening. Forza Horizon 6 and Halo, I'm pretty sure those are happening. Now, State of Decay 3, we haven't seen much. But, I mean, there was rumors, and again, folks, rumors that they wanted to do it this year, and they said, no, we're going to push it to next year. I mean, Clockwork could be next year as well. You add Clockwork to this. Oh my God, Parrot!
Clockwork is not next year.
Oh, it's not next year. Really?
No.
All right. Okay. All right. I mean, listen. Again, that game looks really well done. They did say in due time. So whenever Clockwork does release, and it could be a launch title for the console, if it is in 27 rather than 26. Listen, we know that the game is coming. What they showed in the showcase looked freaking amazing, and I'm all in. But Paris, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. Let me just get this overlay out of here. Get back to Call of Duty, folks. Listen, I meant to be only 45 minutes. I had help from Paris who jumped in. So Paris, thank you so much. Let me just get on these last couple of super chats, and Paris, we'll sell your wares because. I mean, obviously you don't need my help getting subs, but you did put out a video that I kind of want to, get people to check out because, the work that you do is enjoyable and it's honest and it's earnest. But we have Jax82 dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Jax goes on to say, I'm sticking with the Series X. I see no reason to upgrade right now, maybe down the road. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The Series X is a quite powerful piece of hardware and I enjoy it. every day of the week that I play it. So I don't see anything wrong with that. We have Sir C. Julius in the chat. Now he doesn't drop just one, but two $5 super chats. And Sir C says, Paris and Boom speak the truth, though. Everyone wins with this Xbox gaming strategy. Bro, that's very kind of you to say. And yes.
Can I say something on that?
Sure.
Here's my philosophy on everything. And I understand not everyone's going to agree with everything that I say, right? I get criticized and, hey, sometimes it's deservedly so. Don't get me wrong. But whenever I talk about gaming or I give my opinion on something, I'm saying it because it's something that I truly believe. And that's all you can do is speak your truth on this stuff, right?
Yes.
It's not about, because I want to be crystal clear. I don't care where you play or what you play. I will defy anyone to find a soundbite where I've ever told someone to not play on PlayStation or Nintendo or a PC or anything. I don't care. Play where you want. Fans is short for fandom, right? If you're a fan of something, you're passionate about it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to want to celebrate it. You're going to be excited about it. And it's such a bummer that we're in an age now where that's discouraged. It is. People try to shame you for that stuff. Like I said, and if you don't mind, just a private conversation you and I had, I've talked about how, I told you how I see how passionate you get about stuff on here, right? Mm-hmm. I love that. Look, whether you're right or wrong, because at that moment, that's what you believe. That's what you're excited about.
There's no malice there, though.
Exactly.
That's the difference. There's a difference between being an exciting fan, being an excited fan, and sometimes we over fandom, right? That's just what fans do. There is a very stark difference from being disingenuous and hurtful and hateful versus you being excited about something. Like, for instance, Clockwork. Did I honestly, in my heart of hearts, believe what I said? I kind of did. And it was more of a wish than it was I heard from Johnny around the corner. I clearly said, I think. Was I wrong? Am I wrong? Probably. I literally said that. But there'll be some knucklehead be like, oh, you see, BoomStick was wrong again because he said. And you know what? I even said, I got no problem being wrong. I put myself in front of the camera 5 days a week. This week will be 6 days of the week. And I have no problem being wrong because I love gaming. I love this community. I love interacting with this community.
Yes.
And I can talk about gaming 24 hours a day and never get bored.
Yes. The highlight of Summer Games Fest for me was that watch party because that's what it's all about.
It was so good. And my God, they pulled it off. It looked so... Folks, you have no idea the behind the scenes. I hope that Ben does some sort of a documentary where he talks about how the lead up to that thing was a complete, utter disaster on every freaking level. You folks have no idea. Anyone that attended and was like, wow, this is really well done. That's because of Ben and A. Ains, and there's so many people, Dante, it's so many people, Hargeet Chani specifically running the board, their camera guy. There was so much behind the scenes that went wrong that this thing should not have been as good as it was, Paris, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was great. And I misspoke slightly where I said fan was short for fandom. I meant fanatic because that's the whole point. You literally get fanatical over this stuff. And that's okay. My thing is, as long as I'm not trying to tell you what you can and can't enjoy, why do you get so upset and bent out of shape to see someone enjoying something? That's all.
You know what it is? Honestly, I see this meme many times where it's the stick figures, right?
Mm-hmm. And I know you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're yelling at, why were you having so much fun? The person, the two stick figures on the couch are just smiling and enjoying. That's a real life thing. Like, people get so in their feelings for you enjoying. Like, you do it. Listen, again, they come for you and me. I don't want to say it's the same. They really come for you, which I have no idea. And I tell you, I'm going to say this live.
Oh, I know why. I know why.
They're jealous.
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't say it. You did.
That's fine. No, that's okay. I will say it. But you know what? I will say this, folks, before we get to the other super chats and get everyone out of here. I'm praying to the gaming gods that the fine folks at CD Projekt Red send this man that's opposite me on this podcast today a Witcher 4 chair.
I don't.
In the I do. I really
I
hope
don't.
that they do.
I don't. I would say no at this point.
Oh my! Send it to me so I can.
Boom. It's been 5 years.
I know. It's such miserable.
5
POSs.
years. And that's literally, and the hilarious part, because, I was lucky enough a few weeks ago, I actually went to CD Projekt Red. I got to see the studio.
I saw you take the picture in front of the place. That's freaking dope, dude.
And guess what's in every meeting room?
The chair. Yes. Yeah. I'm sure it is. It's a very bright yellow chair. It's a cyberpunk chair. Why wouldn't it be there?
Yeah. And people sitting in it with pride. Like, that's one thing when I went there, because I just went there on a random day, right? It was actually refreshing to see like all the different devs and everyone that works there. They're all wearing various CDPR gear, be it Cyberpunk, Witcher, or whatever. Like, they're all wearing the gear. You got the Cyberpunk chairs in all the rooms and all this stuff. It's like people were like proud to be working there. That was the takeaway that I got from my visit being there. Like I said, just on a random day. There was no special event or anything. I just happened to be in town and just, hey, let's go visit the studio kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm getting off track on what you're saying, but no, I don't want the chair because it just like you can't even have a conversation. I know. Again, it's social media.
You're quote unquote paid off, which is just It's fine. I say jokingly because again we know why you got you got it, and you weren't the only one. There were a lot of creators that got that. I
wasn't the only one. I mean, because trust me, I've thought about this over the years. I did host a launch event for the freaking game. Obviously, I know I was one of the biggest faces for that game. It had a lot of issues at launch, deservedly so. I will always tell everyone, go see my review because I did not recommend it. But they stuck with the game. They fixed it, and it's in a great place now. And it's highly regarded now.
I would say that it's probably one of the biggest comeback stories in the last decade for gaming.
Yeah.
Like honestly, where that game was and actually where it is now is just so leaps and bounds different. I think it's one of the best comeback stories in gaming, to be quite fair. But look, we have Sir C. Julius drops an additional very generous $5 super chat, and he says, I'm sure Gears and Halo will feel weird on PlayStation 5, but we got a leg up, peeps. We know the multiplayer maps already. I mean, listen, I don't play Gears because I suck.
I was so bad this weekend.
So bad. I had an incident where I was playing against some real pros, and every time I walked out of this particular door, I could get my head blown off. I'm like, you know what? After like the 7th time, I realized this game is just not for me. I'm going back to Halo. And that's fine. Now it's Call of Duty. But the last super chat of the day, Paris, this is for you. I was not going to read it but again, you may want to address this. Okay. Mac22 in the chat, and he's a good friend of the show. He says, you're wrong, Paris. She said your library will be able to be played. Yes, she did say that in that video yesterday. And of course, but this is not the first time we've heard Sarah talk about that. She literally is leading a team that was created to make sure that it not only backwards compatibility is a thing, forward.
But that's not what I'm talking about. He's mistaken on what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the reveal during the showcase, not what she said yesterday.
Right.
I'm saying if you only saw the video in the showcase, it implied the Xbox, look, let's say the whole name, the Asus ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X would be able to play all of your Xbox games.
Right.
And it will not be able to do that in 2025. There will be a day when that will happen because I do believe backwards compatibility is going to come to Windows, but not in 2025. That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah. And again, if you just go back and you watch the presentation from the showcase, not what she said yesterday, and again, I'm being completely earnest here, was clear as day as to what their plans are.
She's talking next gen.
Yes.
That's what that video was. I'm talking about today.
Yeah. And that's fair. So thank you so much for the generosity. So look, folks, we're a little longer than I originally planned to go. I want to thank Paris Lilly for being here. I want to thank, we have over 400 people here for an impromptu show. I'll be back tonight at 7 p.m. with Hargeet Chani, Kay Asante, and Everborn Saga. In fact, has confirmed that he'll be joining us. He has a lot to say about, more specifically, the handheld that is going to be coming out. Hopefully, the rumor is October is when it's supposed to release. That's a report that came the way of Tom Henderson. I don't know. And the price has also kind of leaked. I think it's $800, which doesn't surprise me. If it is, I'm getting. I mean, and that's for the X. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy the X because again, that's exactly what I want from a handheld that looks like an Xbox, acts like an Xbox, and has a UI like an Xbox. Yes, I'm good. But Paris, you know what? You said you did a couple of videos, and I want to kind of get people over to your YouTube channel because maybe some people in this YouTube chat right now is not subscribed. Tell everyone where not only can they subscribe to your YouTube channel, what else you got going on, and more importantly, where can people follow you?
I'm gonna drop a link in the chat right now.
Awesome, please do.
That's my YouTube channel. I just hit 25K on my YouTube channel,
that's awesome.
and that's fighting through extreme laziness because I don't post content enough, but I'm trying to get better about it. So 2 videos I put out, hands-on impressions with the Asus ROG Xbox Ally and the Ally X.
I like what Sarah said. She called it the Xbox Ally.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it, just the Xbox Ally is the name. But I have a video hands-on. This was literally right after I got the presentation at the showcase. We recorded there. And then I put out a video kind of reacting to what Sarah Bond obviously talked about in that video yesterday. And then I pulled some clips from the interview we did with Phil Spencer in January, which actually added context to everything that Sarah Bond talked about because he clearly was hinting at that time. But like I said, I put the link in the chat. If someone's looking for it on YouTube, you can just do youtube.com at Marcello696, Marcello 696, or just search my name, Paris, Parris. It'll come right up. I definitely want to put more content on there, and I will leave with this hint. You might want to be paying attention to the channel early next week.
Okay, there you go, folks. There we go. So a sneak peek. Pay attention to the channel. We might be getting some secret sauce information. Cannot wait for that. Again, Paris, thanks so much for joining us. A big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted memberships that continually come into the channel. Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful. And of course, we are sewing up what we're doing, our annual Christmas in July giveaway. There's going to be a total of 10 prizes, 2 grand prizes, and 10 regular prizes. I'm working with Ben Kenobi. Each one of the bags that we're going to be giving away should have at least 3 random coins from the collection, and we'll show those off when we get closer, once we get everything sewed up. The Doom coin is going to be one of them. The Outer Worlds 2 coin is going to be one of them, and I'm trying to work on getting some Avowed and Indiana Jones coins as well. They'll be randomized. Not everyone's going to get the same prize, but they are going to include a gift card. We're just trying to figure out the finances on what that gift card is going to be. And of course, because it's the Xbox, it's the Xbox gift bag, it's going to have an Xbox code in there. We're just trying to figure out what amount of a gift card that's going to be in there, what we can afford to do. But of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, ladies and gentlemen, will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you the next time on the newest episode of Double Barrel Gaming Presents.